Cold open, the rotary phone rang at 3:47 in the morning. Marcus stared at the ceiling tiles of room 404, counting the water stains for the third time that night. He had stopped sleeping 6 months ago, right after the call he missed. The phone rang again. That mechanical trill that belonged to a different decade. He reached for it, but his hand passed through empty air. The phone sat on the nightstand 3 feet away. It had been closer a moment ago, he was certain. He stood and crossed the carpet, feeling the static cling to his bare feet. The phone rang a third time, fourth, fifth. When he lifted the receiver, he heard only the hum of dead air and something underneath it, breathing that matched his own rhythm exactly. A woman's voice cut through the static. "Good morning, this is your wake-up call." But it was 3:47. He had not requested a wake-up call. "I'm awake," he said into the receiver. The voice continued as if he had not spoken. "Please remain in your room. A member of our staff will be with you shortly." The line went dead, but the hum remained, vibrating through the receiver and into his palm. Marcus set the phone down and noticed the room number on the back of his key card. 404. He had checked into room 308. He specifically remembered 308 because of the emergency exit map by the door, the red dot marking his location on the 3rd floor. He went to the door now and looked at the map. The red dot sat on the 4th floor. Room 404 did not appear on the map. There was a gap in the hallway layout where his room should be, a blank space between 403 and 405. He opened the door. The hallway stretched in both directions, fluorescent panels casting greenish light on burgundy carpet that looked wet but felt dry. He stepped out and looked at the brass numbers screwed into his door. 404. The number seemed to shift slightly when he looked directly at it, like something seen through heat shimmer. He walked to the elevator and pressed the down button. The panel above the doors showed the elevator rising 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The hotel only had 6 floors. Chapter 1. The elevator doors opened on the 8th floor. Marcus stepped inside and pressed the button for the lobby. The doors closed and the elevator descended, passing floors that did not exist. When the doors opened again, he stood in the same 4th floor hallway. The elevator had brought him back to where he started. He tried again. Same result. He walked to the stairwell door at the end of the hall and pushed through. The stairs went down and down, flight after flight, far more than 4 floors should contain. When he finally emerged through a door marked lobby, he found himself in the 4th floor hallway again, standing directly in front of room 404. A housekeeping cart sat outside room 402. Marcus approached and saw fresh towels stacked beside bottles of cleaning solution and a clipboard hanging from a hook. He picked up the clipboard. The sheet listed room numbers, check marks indicating which rooms had been serviced. Room 404 was crossed out with red ink. Next to it, someone had written, "Do not enter. Guest has not requested service in 14 days. Below that, in different handwriting, guest did not check out. Still inside, Marcus knocked on the door to 402. A woman in her 30s answered, wearing the hotel's housekeeping uniform. Her name tag read Elena. "Can I help you?" she said, not as a question. Marcus pointed to the clipboard. "What does this mean about 404? Elena glanced at the clipboard and her expression tightened. "You shouldn't be looking at that." "I'm in room 404, Marcus said. Elena shook her head. "No one's in 404. That room's been closed for maintenance since I started here." Marcus held up his keycard. "I checked in last night. Room 404. Elena took the keycard and examined it. Her hands trembled slightly. "Where did you get this?" "The front desk gave it to me." Elena returned the card. "The front desk doesn't issue keys for 404. That room doesn't exist in our system." She pushed her cart forward and walked past him. "You should go back to your room. Get some sleep, Fouad." "I can't sleep, that's why I'm here. The phone keeps ringing." Elena stopped and turned. "What phone?" Marcus gestured toward 404. "The phone in my room. It rang 3 times already tonight. Wake-up calls that I didn't request." Elena stared at him for a long moment. The fluorescent lights hummed above them. "If you're hearing the phone," she said quietly, "then you're already asleep. Everyone who hears the phone is already asleep. They just don't know it yet." Chapter 2. Marcus returned to 404 and found the door ajar. He had closed it when he left. He pushed it open slowly. The room looked different. The furniture had been rearranged. The bed now sat against the opposite wall. The nightstand where the phone had been now stood empty near the window. The phone itself sat on the dresser, its cord stretching across the room in a straight line that defied gravity, hanging horizontal in the air without sagging. He approached the phone and lifted the receiver. The same woman's voice emerged from the earpiece. "Good morning, this is your wake-up call. You have been asleep for 6 hours and 42 minutes. Would you like to continue sleeping?" Marcus pressed the cradle button, ending the call. The voice continued speaking. Your sleep quality has been rated as poor. You experienced 17 micro-awakenings and 6 full conscious intervals. Your dream content included themes of guilt, abandonment, and missed opportunities. Would you like to review your sleep report? I'm awake, Marcus said into the phone. The voice paused. According to our monitoring system, you have not achieved full wakefulness in 14 days. Please remain in your room. A member of our staff will assist you with your wake-up protocol shortly. The line disconnected, but a dial tone played on loop, rising and falling in pitch like a breath. Marcus hung up and noticed a folder on the dresser labeled Guest Information. He opened it. Inside were photocopies of sleep studies, pages of graphs showing brainwave patterns labeled with his name, and the dates from the past 2 weeks. According to the charts, he had been asleep for 336 hours. The last page contained a handwritten note: patient refuses to wake. Recommend extended observation in room 404. Subject responds to wake-up call protocol, but cannot distinguish sleep from waking state. Possible candidate for permanent residency. The phone rang again. Marcus ignored it. He went to the window and pulled back the curtain. The view showed a parking lot that extended to the horizon, thousands of cars arranged in perfect rows under sodium lights. In the far distance, he saw the hotel itself, a mirror image standing identical and reversed. Between the two hotels, a figure walked across the parking lot, moving in his direction. He watched as the figure grew closer. It was a man in a business suit carrying a briefcase, walking with purpose. The man looked up at Marcus's window and waved. Marcus recognized himself. He stumbled back from the window. The phone continued ringing. He counted 17 rings before it stopped. In the silence that followed, he heard footsteps in the hallway outside his door. Someone knocked 3 times. Housekeeping. Elena's voice called. Marcus opened the door. Elena stood there with her cart, holding a stack of fresh towels. I brought extra pillows, she said. In case you wanted to sleep. Marcus blocked the doorway. You told me not to sleep. You said everyone who hears the phone is already asleep. Elena smiled, but her eyes remained neutral. Did I say that? I don't remember saying that. I think you might have dreamed it. She pushed past him into the room. Marcus watched as she began stripping the bed, removing sheets that he had not slept on. How long have you worked here? He asked. Elena continued working. 14 days. No, that's not right. 14 years. Time feels strange on this floor. What happened to the previous guest in this room? Elena folded the dirty sheets with mechanical precision. There is no previous guest. You're the first person to check into 404 since the hotel opened. She placed fresh sheets on the bed, tucking hospital corners with practiced efficiency. Although technically, you never checked in. According to the front desk, you're still in the lobby, filling out the registration form. You've been filling it out for 2 weeks now. Chapter 3. Marcus left 404 and took the elevator down to the lobby. This time it worked, descending smoothly and opening onto a space he recognized from check-in. The front desk stood empty except for a computer monitor glowing with a blue screen. He approached and saw the registration system open, his information half entered in the form fields. The cursor blinked in the email address box. He had stopped typing partway through his email. The timestamp in the corner of the screen read 2 weeks ago, the night he arrived. Behind the desk, a door led to the back office. Marcus pushed through and found a room filled with filing cabinets and a desk covered in papers. In the center of the desk sat an old intercom system with buttons labeled for each floor. The button for the 4th floor was missing, leaving a circular hole in the panel. Wires dangled from the hole, stripped and twisted together. Someone had written on the desk surface around the hole, "Do not connect floor 4. System cannot handle wake-up calls above 3rd floor. Creates feedback loop." Marcus pressed the intercom button for room 404. Static filled the office, loud enough to hurt his ears. Through the static, he heard the wake-up call recording playing backward. The woman's voice said, "Shortly you with assist will staff are of member A. Room you're in remain please. Minutes 2:40 and hours 6 for a sleep bin have you." He released the button and the static stopped. A 3-ring binder sat on the desk labeled Incident Reports. Marcus opened it and flipped through pages of handwritten complaints and observations. Most entries concerned the 4th floor. Guest in 407 reported hearing phone calls from room that does not exist. Guest in 401 claimed to see person in hallway who vanished when approached. Guest in 404 has not checked out. Keycard shows active entry but no record in system. Request maintenance inspection of 404. Maintenance reports room cannot be accessed. Door opens onto empty shaft between floors. Recommend ceiling entrance. The most recent entry was dated yesterday. It read security conducted welfare check on guest in 404 after 14 days without checkout. Security reports room appears occupied but no response to knocking. Reviewed security footage. Footage shows guest entering room on day 1. Guest never exits. Guest visible through window pacing inside room. Guest also visible on lobby camera. Standing at front desk and filling out registration form. Both instances occurring simultaneously. Flagged for management review. Marcus closed the binder and noticed a monitor in the corner showing security feeds. He scrolled through cameras until he found room 404. The image showed him standing in the room, looking at the phone. He was frozen mid-reach, hand extended toward the receiver. The timestamp on the feed showed the current time. On another camera, he saw himself in the lobby, standing at the front desk with a pen hovering over the registration form. On a third camera, he appeared in the hallway outside 404, talking to Alina. He ran back to the lobby. The registration form still glowed on the monitor. He grabbed the mouse and deleted his partial information, closing the system entirely. The screen went black. He felt a sudden pull, like falling sideways, and the lobby tilted around him. When he blinked, he stood in room 404 again. The phone was ringing. Chapter 4. Marcus tore the phone cord from the wall. The ringing continued, emanating from inside the phone itself, no longer connected to any external power source. He threw the phone into the closet and shut the door. The muffled ringing persisted, rhythmic and patient. He pushed the dresser in front of the closet door. The ringing grew louder. He needed to understand the wake-up call system. If Elena was right, if he was already asleep, then something in this room was keeping him in that state. He searched the room systematically, checking for hidden cameras or recording devices. Behind the mirror above the dresser, he found a ventilation grate. He removed the screws with a butter knife from the room's service tray. The grate came away to reveal a small space containing wires and a circuit board connected to a speaker. The speaker had been wired into the hotel's intercom system. Someone had modified it to broadcast into the room continuously. Marcus pulled the circuit board free. The ringing stopped immediately. In the sudden silence, he heard other sounds: breathing, footsteps, voices murmuring in conversation. The sounds came from within the walls themselves. He pressed his ear to the wall and listened. Someone was crying. Someone else was laughing. A child's voice asked, "When can we leave?" An older voice replied, "When we wake up." He punched through the drywall. The hole revealed not insulation or studs but another room beyond, lit by the same fluorescent glow. Through the gap, he saw a bed, a dresser, a phone. Another guest room, identical to his own. A woman sat on the bed, young and wearing business clothes, staring at nothing. Marcus called to her. She did not respond. He widened the hole and climbed through. The woman's room smelled of stale air and cleaning chemicals. Marcus approached her. "Can you hear me?" The woman's eyes tracked slowly toward him. "Are you from the front desk?" Her voice sounded distant, like something remembered rather than heard. "I've been waiting for my wake-up call. I have a meeting at 9. I can't miss another one." Marcus checked his watch. It showed 3:47, the same time it had shown for hours. "What's your name?" The woman thought about this. "Amy, or maybe Amanda. I used to know. I wrote it down somewhere." She gestured to the nightstand. A notepad sat there, covered in handwriting. The same sentence filled every page. "I am awake. I am awake." The handwriting deteriorated across the pages, becoming less controlled, more frantic. "How long have you been here?" Marcus asked. "Amy, or..." Amanda smiled. "Just one night. I checked in yesterday. Or last week. The front desk said my room was ready. They gave me a key card. Room 407. But when I got to my room, the number said 404. I thought they made a mistake." She stood and walked to the window. "I called the front desk to ask for a different room. They said there was no one checked in under my name. They said I should come down to the lobby. I tried. The elevator kept bringing me back here." Marcus looked through the hole he had made. Beyond his room, he could see additional holes leading to more rooms, a chain of connected spaces stretching into darkness. "Other people have been trying to break through, Amy, or..." Amanda said. "I hear them at night, digging through the walls. Sometimes I hear them in my room, walking around, but when I look, there's no one there. I think they're in a different version of the room. Like we're all in the same space but at different times." The phone in her room began to ring. She looked at it with an expression of relief. "That's my wake-up call." Finally, she picked up the receiver. "Hello, yes, this is Amanda. I'm ready to check out now." She listened for a moment, then held the phone out to Marcus. "They want to talk to you." Marcus took the phone. The woman's recorded voice said, "Good morning, this is your wake-up call. You have been asleep for 14 days. Your family has been notified of your extended stay. They send their regards and wish you peaceful rest. Would you like to continue sleeping? Chapter 5. Marcus dropped the phone and grabbed Amanda's arm. We need to leave. Right now. She pulled away. But I just got my wake-up call. I can check out now. Marcus dragged her toward the hole in the wall. She struggled, reaching back toward the phone. You don't understand, she said. I've been waiting so long. I can't leave now. He pulled her through into his room. She stood in the center of 404, looking around with confusion. This isn't my room. Why did you bring me here? Marcus pointed to the door. We're leaving through the front door. We're walking down to the lobby. We're checking out. He opened the door. The hallway outside had changed. Instead of burgundy carpet and numbered doors, he saw a long corridor lined with frosted glass windows. Through the glass, he glimpsed other rooms, hundreds of them, extending in all directions like a honeycomb. Each room contained a bed, a phone, a guest trapped in some version of the same waiting. Amanda stood beside him, staring at the impossible geometry. I don't think we're in a hotel anymore, she said quietly. Marcus stepped into the corridor. The floor felt spongy, giving slightly under his weight. The frosted glass windows showed movement behind them, shadows passing back and forth. He approached one window and pressed his hand against it. The glass rippled like water. He pushed through. On the other side, he found himself in the hotel stairwell. Amanda followed him through the glass. That was not glass. They descended the stairs, counting floors as they went. 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor, ground floor, then more floors below. Sub-basement 1, sub-basement 2, sub-basement 3. The stairs continued downward into darkness. The walls changed from painted concrete to raw earth, then to something else. Something that looked organic and pulsed with a slow rhythm. I think we're going the wrong way, Amanda said. Marcus kept descending. We need to find where this starts, where they installed the system. At the bottom of the stairs, they found a heavy door marked authorized personnel only. Marcus pushed it open. Inside was a massive circular chamber, filled with machinery, servers, monitors, switches, cables running in bundles along the ceiling. At the center of the chamber stood a device that looked like a combination of telephone switchboard and medical equipment. Rows of receivers hung from hooks, connected to individual monitors displaying brainwave patterns. Each monitor was labeled with a room number. Marcus found his own monitor, room 404, his name displayed at the top, his brainwaves scrolling across the screen in shallow patterns indicating light sleep. Amanda's monitor showed similar readings. They're monitoring our sleep, she said. Marcus studied the equipment, not just monitoring, controlling. He followed the cables from the central device to a bank of recording equipment. Reel-to-reel tape machines played in a continuous loop, the wake-up call recording. But listening closely, he heard something beneath the woman's voice, binaural tones, frequencies designed to entrain the brain into specific states. The machines were not waking people up. They were keeping people asleep, locked in a liminal state between consciousness and dreaming. A clipboard hung on the wall next to the machines. Marcus read the header, Project Threshold Extended Sleep Study Phase 4. Below that, a mission statement to explore the commercial applications of sustained liminal consciousness. Subjects maintain low-level awareness while remaining economically inactive. Perfect guests. No complaints. No checkouts. Continuous revenue stream. He flipped through the pages. Lists of names, room numbers, duration of sleep. Some guests had been under for months, some for years. At the bottom of the final page, a note in red ink: test subjects showing signs of permanent threshold collapse, consciousness fragmenting across temporal and spatial dimensions. Subjects experience simultaneous existence in multiple states. Recommend termination of project. Facility should be demolished. The recommendation was dated 15 years ago. The paper had yellowed with age. Marcus looked at Amanda. They never shut it down. They just abandoned the facility and left everyone asleep. Amanda moved to one of the tape machines and stopped the playback. The wake-up call recording fell silent. Above them, throughout the building, Marcus heard a sound like thunder. Then screaming. People waking up. People who had been asleep for months or years, suddenly thrust back into consciousness. Chapter 6. The lights in the chamber flickered and went dark. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Marcus grabbed Amanda's hand and ran for the stairs. Behind them, the machinery began to shut down with a series of mechanical groans and electrical pops. They climbed upward through the darkness, past the organic walls that now pulsed faster, past the sub-basements and into the main stairwell. When they emerged on the ground floor, they found chaos. Hotel guests wandered the lobby in various states of confusion. Some wore clothes from different decades. Some looked emaciated, malnourished from years of lying motionless in beds. Alina stood behind the front desk, trying to answer questions from a crowd of angry people. When she saw Marcus, her expression shifted from harried to relieved. "You stopped the system," she said. "I couldn't figure out how. I've been trying for years." Marcus pushed through the crowd. "You've been awake this whole time." Alina nodded. "I was brought in as a test subject, but something went wrong with my programming. The wake-up calls never took hold. I stayed conscious while everyone else drifted. I tried to help people escape, but the facility kept pulling them back. The system was too strong." "It's not running anymore," Amanda said. Alina shook her head. "The playback system isn't running, but the facility itself is still active. It's self-sustaining now. The building wants people to sleep. It needs them to sleep. That's what it was designed for." As if to confirm her words, the fluorescent lights began to pulse in a slow rhythm. Marcus felt his eyelids growing heavy. Around him, guests swayed on their feet. One by one, they began to sink to the floor, falling into sleep. Marcus fought the pull. He grabbed Alina's arm. "How do we get out?" Alina pointed to the main entrance. "The doors only open from the outside. Someone has to let us out." "But no one's come to the facility in 15 years. No one remembers it exists." Marcus looked at the glass doors. Beyond them, he saw the parking lot empty except for his rental car. He ran to the doors and pushed. They held firm, locked by some mechanism he could not see. Behind him, Amanda collapsed. Alina caught her before she hit the ground. "We need to break the doors," Marcus said. He grabbed a chair from the lobby and swung it at the glass. The chair bounced off without leaving a mark. He tried again. Same result. Alina laid Amanda gently on the floor. "The facility's field extends 10 feet beyond the walls. Nothing can breach it from the inside. It's designed to contain the sleep state, keep it from spreading to the outside world." Marcus studied the doors. Through the glass, he could see his car keys sitting on the front seat where he had left them. If he could get outside, he could drive away, get help, bring someone to break down the doors. But the only way out was through. He looked at Alina. "You said you've been awake for years." "How?" "I learned to lucid dream," Alina said. "The facility controls normal consciousness, but lucid dreaming exists in a different state. The system can't fully touch it." She gestured to the sleeping guests around them. "They're all dreaming now. And in their dreams, they can do things they can't do awake." Marcus understood. "In a dream, I could walk through the doors." "In a dream," Alina confirmed, "the doors wouldn't stop you, but you'd still be dreaming, still trapped in the facility, unless you could wake yourself up from the outside." Marcus felt the pull of sleep growing stronger. His knees buckled. Alina helped him to the floor. "I don't know how to lucid dream," he said. Alina knelt beside him. "Think about your guilt. That's what keeps you here. That's what the facility uses to anchor you. The missed phone call. The person you couldn't help. If you can face that in the dream, if you can let it go, maybe you can break free." Chapter 7. Marcus closed his eyes and let the sleep take him. He fell backward through darkness and landed in a hospital room. His sister Sarah lay in the bed, her face pale, her breathing shallow. This was the room where she had died 6 months ago. This was the moment he had missed because he fell asleep in the airport lounge, exhausted from a business trip. He had promised to be there. She had asked him to be there. And he had failed. The phone on the bedside table rang. In the real hospital, 6 months ago, that phone call had come too late. Sarah had died 10 minutes before he woke up and returned the call. Now, in the dream, he had a chance to answer it differently. He picked up the receiver. Sarah's voice said, "Marcus, where are you?" "I'm here," he said. "I'm right here." In the hospital bed, Sarah opened her eyes. But it was not Sarah. It was the woman from the wake-up call recording, her voice now coming from his sister's mouth. "You're asleep, Marcus. You've been asleep for 14 days. You've been asleep since the moment you walked into that airport lounge. This hospital room is the dream. The hotel is the dream. I'm the dream. Wake up." Marcus set the phone down and looked at his sister, who was not his sister. "How do I wake up?" The woman smiled. "You already know. You've been trying to wake up for 6 months. That's why you came to the facility. Your subconscious brought you there. It knew something was wrong. It knew you never actually got on that plane. You never made it to the hospital. You're still in the airport lounge, still asleep, still running on 4 hours of rest across 3 days. Your body shut down. And now your mind is trapped in the guilt loop." Marcus stood and walked to the window. Outside, he saw the hotel, the parking lot, the endless rows of cars. He saw Alina standing in the lobby, looking up at him. He saw Amanda sleeping on the floor. He saw himself at the front desk, still filling out the registration form. All versions of the same trap, all expressions of the same guilt. He turned back to the woman in the bed. If I wake up now, Sarah's still dead. I still miss the moment. Nothing changes. No, the woman agreed, nothing changes. But you stop punishing yourself for it. You stop building prisons in your sleep. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin felt real, warm, alive. The facility feeds on guilt. It finds people like you, people who can't forgive themselves, and it gives them a place to hide from reality. Room 414 doesn't exist. It's the error state. The room for people who can't face what they've done or what they've lost. You can stay here forever, reliving the moment before the moment, never having to move forward. Or you can wake up and grieve and continue living. Marcus felt tears on his face. Real tears or dream tears or something in between. I don't know if I can. The woman squeezed his hand. You already are. Every person you tried to help in the facility, that was you trying to help yourself. Amanda, Elena, all the others. They're all aspects of your consciousness trying to wake you up. This is the final push. The last barrier. Let go of the guilt. Forgive yourself. Wake up. The hospital room began to dissolve. The walls became translucent, showing the airport lounge beyond. Marcus saw himself slumped in a chair, his phone slipping from his hand, his breathing shallow. A gate agent stood over him, shaking his shoulder, calling his name. Security personnel approached with a wheelchair. He had collapsed from exhaustion. They were taking him to the airport medical center. He had been unconscious for 3 minutes, not 14 days. 3 minutes. But in those 3 minutes, he had built an entire world. Chapter 8. Marcus opened his eyes in the medical center. A paramedic leaned over him, checking his pulse. Welcome back, the paramedic said. You gave us quite a scare. How do you feel? Marcus sat up slowly. His head ached. His mouth tasted like metal. How long was I out? About 3 minutes. You collapsed in the terminal. Severe exhaustion, looks like. When's the last time you slept? Marcus thought about this. 4 hours over the past 3 days. The paramedic nodded. That'll do it. Your body forced a shutdown. You need rest. Real rest, not power naps between flights. Marcus checked his phone. Missed calls from the hospital. Text messages from his brother-in-law. Sarah had died 2 hours ago while he was boarding his first flight. He had missed the moment not because he fell asleep but because he was in the air unreachable. The phone call he had missed in the dream. The wake-up call that never came. That was his mind processing the guilt, transforming it into something more manageable. A hotel he could escape from, a system he could break, a way to forgive himself for being human. The paramedic handed him a plastic cup of water. You're going to need to stay here for observation. Just a few hours. Make sure there's no underlying cause for the collapse. Marcus drank the water. It tasted real. Everything felt real in a way the hotel had not. The scratchy blanket on the cot, the antiseptic smell, the fluorescent lights that flickered but did not pulse. He was awake. Actually awake. For the first time in months, he was certain of it. He thought about Alina and Amanda, the other guests in the facility. They had been real in the sense that dreams are real. Products of his mind, yes, but no less valid for that. They had helped him find his way out. They had taught him that guilt was just another kind of sleep, another way of avoiding the present moment, and now he was present. Now he was here. Sarah was gone. He had not been there to say goodbye. He would carry that regret. But he would carry it awake, eyes open, moving forward. The paramedic left him alone to rest. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment and immediately felt the pull of sleep, that familiar downward spiral. He forced his eyes open. Not yet. He would sleep later, properly, in a real bed with no phones and no wake-up calls. He would let his body repair itself. But first, he needed to be awake. He needed to sit with the grief and let it be grief, not a puzzle to solve or a facility to escape. Just grief, just loss. Just the simple, terrible fact of continuing to live when someone you love does not. He stood and walked to the window. Outside, the airport continued its operations. Planes landed and departed. People hurried between gates. Life moved forward with or without his participation. He could rejoin it now. He could step back into the flow of time. Or he could retreat again, find another hotel, another room, another system to blame for his inability to forgive himself. The choice was his. The choice had always been his. Epilogue. Marcus attended Sarah's funeral 3 days later. He did not sleep well the nights before, haunted by dreams of ringing phones and endless hallways, but the dreams were just dreams now. When he woke, he stayed awake. He did not slip back into the liminal state. He did not go searching for room 414. At the funeral, his brother-in-law thanked him for coming. Sarah knew you'd be here, he said. She wasn't worried. She knew you were doing your best. Marcus wanted to explain that he had failed, that he had not been there when it mattered. But he realized that the only person who required that explanation was himself. Everyone else had already forgiven him. The work now was learning to accept that forgiveness. After the service, Marcus drove past the hotel where he thought he had stayed. The building looked different in daylight, smaller, more ordinary. He pulled into the parking lot and went inside. The lobby was empty except for a young clerk at the front desk. "Can I help you?" the clerk asked. Marcus shook his head. "I was just checking. I thought I stayed here a couple weeks ago. Room 404. The clerk consulted his computer. "We don't have a room 4 and 4, sir. Our 4th floor only goes up to 420. Marcus smiled. "My mistake. Must have been a different hotel." He walked back to his car and sat behind the wheel. The hotel was real. The room was not. Or maybe the room was real and he had never been there. Maybe the line between the two states was thinner than he wanted to believe. He started the engine and pulled onto the highway. In his rearview mirror, he saw the hotel receding. On the 4th floor, a window he had not noticed before reflected the afternoon sun. For a moment, he thought he saw a figure standing there, looking down at him. A woman in a housekeeping uniform. Then the light shifted and the window was empty. He drove on, leaving the facility behind, carrying the memory of room 404 like a scar that had healed but still ached in certain weather. He was awake now. The question was whether he could stay that way.